I'd ultimately made my high school bully, Ethan, pay for my broken phone by forcing him to sell his own prized game console to cover the damages. But the best part? He incriminated himself. The whole thing started with me getting a job in his house. Also, I could frame him for stealing his parents' alcohol. I was always the kid people picked on at school. Girls spread rumors, and boys harassed me relentlessly. It was because I'd always known I wanted to be a nanny. I loved looking after kids, so it felt like a natural career path for me. But when I made the mistake of sharing this with someone I thought was a friend, she told everyone. This was perceived as feminine, and I instantly became a target. One boy, Ethan, loved to terrorize me more than anyone. He was awful. He'd follow me home throwing things, vandalize my schoolwork, call me disgusting names, and even cut my hair in class. I was terrified of him, and the anxiety kept me up at night. Things reached a breaking point after Christmas when I was 15. My family never had much money, but my mom had saved for ages to buy me my first phone. It wasn't a new model, but I didn't care. I was so grateful, and a little guilty that she'd gone without her new Christmas outfit to get it for me. When we went back to school, Ethan found out about my phone. He snatched it from me, read my messages out loud, mocking me for my lack of contacts and for telling my mom I loved her, then threw it on the floor and stomped on it. Omniscient narrator. In that moment, Ethan made a critical mistake. He saw a victim, but he failed to see the quiet resolve forging in the face of his cruelty. He had just pushed someone past their breaking point, completely unaware that this single act of destruction would lead to his own downfall. I was devastated and furious that he'd destroyed something my mom worked so hard for. It was then I started planning my revenge. I knew through the grapevine that Ethan's mom was a stay-at-home mom to his 4-year-old twin sisters. His dad had a good job, but his mom rarely got to go out because Ethan refused to babysit, and she was very picky about who watched her kids. My opening came because I already babysat for her friend's little boy. I casually mentioned to the boy's mom that I was looking for more jobs to save up for my own mother's birthday. Just as I'd hoped, she recommended me to Ethan's mom. For the next few weeks, I began my operation, looking after his little sisters at their house. As one commenter on my story later noted, while most school-age revenge stories are minor, a frame job involving getting employed by the target's household and slowly working its way to fruition over several weeks with a side of pettiness does in fact qualify as pro. His sisters were a joy, and despite his awful attitude, the rest of his family was nice. It absolutely killed Ethan to have to be civil to me in front of his mom, who would have flipped if he'd been horrible to me. After a few weeks, I put my plan into action. I knew from observation that his parents kept an unopened bottle of vodka in the fridge for parties. Ethan also creepily bragged about his stash of adult magazines, which I'd located in a bag in his closet after sneaking into his room while the twins slept. Omniscient narrator. This reveals Ethan's greatest fatal flaw, his arrogance. He was so convinced of my powerlessness that the idea I could be in his house, let alone his room, orchestrating his demise, never once crossed his mind. That overconfidence sealed his fate. One night, while Ethan was out and the kids were asleep, I went to the fridge. I opened the bottle of alcohol, poured about a quarter of it down the sink, and snuck upstairs to hide the bottle in the same bag as his magazine stash. Not long after, his parents discovered the missing vodka. They showed up at my door, not angry, but asking questions. I politely denied everything and even offered to help them look for it. They thanked me and said they'd find it, and they did. The next day, I was called over to take the twins to the park so they could have a talk with Ethan. When I got back an hour later, I could hear crying from his bedroom. It turns out, he'd completely ratted himself out. His parents had searched his room and found the open bottle of vodka right next to his adult magazines. He denied everything, frantically accusing me of planting the alcohol there. But then his parents asked the fatal question, why would he do that? And in his panic, Ethan blurted out that it must have been payback for him breaking my phone. As a commenter later said, it's always best when they out themselves. Omniscient narrator. In his desperate attempt to deflect blame, Ethan forgot the most crucial rule of lying, keep it simple. By inventing a motive for my supposed crime, he handed his parents the very confession they were looking for on a silver platter. His parents flipped out. They had no idea their son was such a bully. The fallout was immediate. They took away his phone, grounded him, and made him sell his games console to pay to get my phone fixed. The look on his face when he had to hand me the money is something I will never forget. His parents questioned me about the bullying and informed my mom, who I'd told I simply dropped the phone. As a result, other kids came forward about what they'd endured from Ethan and his friends. He and a few others got suspended, and his parents even made him go door to door to apologize to everyone he had tormented. As another commenter rightly pointed out, Ethan's parents seem like good people. I was initially reluctant to take the money he gave me, as it was more than the repair cost, but his parents insisted I at least take enough to cover the fix. With my phone repaired, I used the money I'd saved myself to get my mom an awesome birthday gift. This story is a powerful reminder that true strength isn't about cruelty, but about patience and intelligence. It shows that sometimes, the most satisfying form of justice is the kind the wrongdoer brings upon themselves. What do you think is the best way to handle a bully who goes too far? Let us know in the comments below.